Have you ever watched someone neglect all the important things in their life? Have you watched someone harm their closest relationships, neglect their duties at work, and even forget to eat for long stretches? It's a common behavior of someone who has an addiction. They pursue the source of their intense impulse to the detriment of everything else. It's hard to watch and even harder to experience yourself. Addiction can quickly turn a person's life upside down, but it can also insidiously eat away at someone largely unnoticed. You may end up in the hospital with an overdose or just far less savings for your retirement. For some, their addiction is a manageable staple of their morning routine. They can't do without their coffee and their daily intake of the drug caffeine. Coffee, however, doesn't negatively impact your health or social life. Caffeine is a very normalized addiction. We usually only refer to it as a drug when we joke about our intense cravings for it. But other forms of addiction are normalized and do cause harm. You may be watching this video on a very normal, addictive device. Generation Z is currently struggling with an addiction epidemic, and I'm not referring to their coffee consumption. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please understand that therapy is an integral part of the recovery process. Talking to the right therapist can help you learn healthy ways of coping with the thoughts, feelings, and stressors that trigger you. It can also help you better understand why you got addicted in the first place, which will prevent you from relapsing after getting the help you need. If you don't know where to start with therapy, then I highly recommend you check out the sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. Although I haven't personally had to deal with any addiction, there was a time when I really struggled with imposter syndrome. Spending time with a therapist allowed me to process this feeling and also taught me how to overcome it. Today I'm in a much better place mentally, and I no longer feel like a fraud. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy accessible to everyone. All you have to do is answer a few questions, and usually in as little as a few days, you'll get assigned a professional therapist. If you don't like the therapist you were assigned for whatever reason, BetterHelp makes it super easy to switch to a new one completely for free, so you can make sure you have the best connection possible with your therapist. It's super important to feel comfortable with your therapist, and you can make sure you're extra comfortable by having your sessions through phone call, video chat, or messaging, whatever feels best for you. With BetterHelp, getting started with therapy is now super easy. Just click the link in the description down below and go to betterhelp.com/aperture, or choose Aperture to get 10% off your first month and connect with the right therapist for you. Back to our story. But before anyone gets defensive or judgmental, I want to make clear that the point of the video isn't to blame, but to add context, while also sharing possible pathways to a healthier future. Gen Z is more likely to struggle with substance abuse than other generations. Even though they are less likely to drink alcohol, Gen Z is more likely to engage with cannabis, hallucinogenic drugs, vaping, prescription benzo misuse, and a range of addictive activities. This isn't surprising, as marijuana has been legalized in many places across North America, and hallucinogenic mushrooms have become more widely available. Benzos, which you might know in their commercial form as Xanax or Valium, have also become much easier to access in recent years. The prohibited use of marijuana was an overbearing policy, given that the drug is less harmful to our health than alcohol. But that doesn't mean its legalization hasn't come with consequences. The drug is more normalized now and widespread, which seems to have influenced how Gen Z members use it regularly. Fortunately, in states where marijuana is legal, adolescent cannabis use has gone down. Fewer teens are using it, but those that are use it more. Alcohol and e-cigarette use has also decreased in these same states. Nicotine vape pens were also introduced in the last 20 years and have been heavily adopted by Gen Z. Vapes are increasingly associated with health issues and can ironically lead to cigarette addiction. The nicotine in vapes can harm parts of the developing adolescent brain associated with learning, mood, attention, and impulse control. Vapes also contain chemicals that are known to cause cancer. We still don't know a lot about the overall long-term health impacts, unlike cigarettes, but the early signs aren't great. Gen Z is exposed to a lot of vape content on social media from influencers and random posts, and those who have seen the content are more likely to vape themselves, unfortunately. People have been using pot for a long time now, and we know that it can impact the developing young brain in negative ways. It can cause poorer cognitive performance and a worsened ability to learn and recall information. With e-commerce widely available on smartphones, Gen Z has developed an addiction to online purchases. Zoomers are compulsively shopping for things they can't afford, impulse buying what they think they need in order to create a short-term improvement in their mood. It's often a way of coping with stress, anxiety, and depression, or just a way to escape from negative emotions into positive ones. They're essentially buying brief moments of happiness. The pervasiveness of online marketing doesn't help the situation. Marketing systems are designed to ensnare consumers in a funnel, leading them to make a purchase. While this isn't a deterministic process, it's proven to be more impactful on shoppers with an addiction. When you look at a product on a website, you'll often be targeted with an ad later showcasing the same product, probably with a discount. Or the same company will send you an email showing you items to go with your new purchase. For shopping addicts, it's all one big web, with the spider consuming you whole at the end of the funnel. Businesses are always trying to seduce you into spending more, and when you're always online, you're easy to find. As more younger people access online shopping, they're more susceptible to being trapped in a shopping addiction. A little blast of temporary happiness is at their fingertips. They just have to press buy now and their credit card information and address are auto-filled. It's just so effortless, you can make a purchase from the ads themselves sometimes. You no longer have to interrupt your social feed. If you want to reduce the hold that marketing practices have on you, there's plenty of ways to avoid most of the targeted ads. You can use web browsers that give you the option of disabling third-party tracking cookies like Firefox or Chrome. Some people are more likely than others to struggle with addiction for a variety of reasons. It can be a maladaptive way of coping with a traumatic event from childhood. Prolonged stress at an early age can impair emotional regulation and cognitive development in lasting ways. It can cause us to over-respond to minimal threats and everyday difficulties. This kind of conditioning is known to lead to substance abuse. It's a way to cope with how overwhelming everyday life can be after a traumatic childhood. Neglectful or authoritarian parenting can contribute to a person being more susceptible to addiction. The same is true for growing up in a violent household. These are also conditions of prolonged stress for a child. There's also genetic factors. Some people metabolize alcohol in a way that makes it undesirable, for example. They're less likely to become addicted than people who find the experience more enjoyable. People have different alcohol metabolizing enzymes, varying from person to person. Chronic stress and anxiety in adults can also lead to varying forms of addiction. Taking a substance as a stress relief can enhance the pleasure of the experience. Many of us have experienced this when drinking after a long, hard day at work or a difficult exam period. The euphoria is more intense. If we're looking for primary causes for addiction that are shared by an entire generation, it's probably anxiety and stress. These are symptoms that can rise globally based on the state of the world. Gen Z and younger millennials are currently experiencing stress and anxiety more than previous generations, and there are numerous common factors. The enormous cause of stress, and Gen Z has been given the worst financial circumstances in modern history. Their school debt is high, the cost of groceries grow daily, the interest rate in the US is only now starting to fall, and obtaining a mortgage is increasingly out of reach for the vast majority of Zoomers. For those trying to rent, it typically costs more per month than a mortgage would. Life is more expensive, and long-standing financial goals are drifting further out of reach. Gen X and the baby boomers heavily rely on the value of their homes as a gateway to retirement. Most of them could buy into the housing market cheaply and reap the benefits of the rising value of their homes. This form of investment won't be an option for Gen Z, and largely wasn't for millennials. We've essentially eroded financial security for an entire generation and likely more to come. Our finances are intertwined with our basic needs, and when these needs are at risk of not being met, anxiety grows. It's a survival mechanism after all. In addition to life being more expensive, salaries haven't gone up much in real terms. To live a comfortable existence, Gen Z has to earn considerably more than other generations at their age. Gen Z will struggle to save for retirement. They will likely have to work much later than previous generations for the privilege of not working. But will retirement even be a relevant concept by the time Gen Z has saved enough? A Zoomer retirement assumes that the world still functions like it does now. Global threats loom around every corner as we go deeper into the 21st century. Will 2050 accommodate what we consider a comfortable retirement today? For a long time, these global issues seemed abstract. We could either ignore them or keep them safely in the back of our minds. However, the global pandemic in 2020 showed the world that our lives can be severely disrupted. It gave us a strong taste of what a worldwide crisis looks and feels like. We're now very capable of imagining the horrors that could await us if the climate crisis continues unabated. Gen Z members on TikTok can also clearly see what nightmares war brings as they view clips from Gaza. For most of us, war isn't at our doorstep, but we can all clearly see the relationship between superpowers becoming more fraught. They almost exclusively fight by proxy, but will that last? We also don't want to see the current victims of war suffer as we remain helpless from far away. When you combine the friction between nations and the fallout of the climate crisis, it's not hard to imagine a more brutal future, often depicted in post-apocalyptic stories.